For more than 4,000 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood in silence. No blueprints, no written explanation left behind. Not a single hieroglyph inside its main chambers. Yet hidden in its measurements, its alignment, and its construction is a pattern so precise that modern engineers, mathematicians, and archaeologists still argue over whether it was coincidence or a code written in stone by ancient architects who left no explanation for the world that came after them. The Great Pyramid was constructed around 25 and 60 BCE during the reign of Khufu, also known by his Greek name Cheops, the second pharaoh of Egypt's fourth dynasty. It was not the first pyramid built in Egypt, but it became the largest and the most accurately constructed, standing originally at around 146.6 meters tall, with each side of its base measuring close to 230.4 meters. The pyramid held the record for the tallest human-made structure on Earth for nearly 3,800 years. No ancient Egyptian texts describe the construction process. Herodotus, writing 2,000 years later, claimed in the 5th century BCE that 100,000 men worked in rotating groups, but his account is considered second-hand and unreliable. What historians do know comes from physical evidence: stone quarries, worker tombs discovered by archaeologist Zahi Hawass in the 1990s, and surviving administrative papyri discovered at Wadi al-Jarf in 2013, written by an overseer named Mera. The documents describe transporting limestone blocks from Tura to Giza, but do not mention design specifications or any symbolic intent behind the pyramid's geometry. Yet the measurements speak loudly. When British mathematician John Taylor published The Great Pyramid, Why Was It Built and Who Built It? In 1859, he suggested that the pyramid's proportions might encode the mathematical constant pi. In 1883, renowned Egyptologist Sir William Flinders Petrie confirmed through on-site surveys that the base perimeter, divided by twice the original height, equals approximately 3.14, a close value to pi. Petrie did not insist this was intentional, but the ratio was real, built into the stone. The accuracy doesn't stop there. Modern measurements conducted by the Glen Dash Foundation in 2015 showed that the pyramid is aligned to the cardinal directions with an error of less than 5 arc minutes. This alignment rivals or exceeds many modern constructions, achieved long before magnetic compasses or precision instruments existed. In 1925, archaeologist Ludwig Borchardt examined the so-called pyramid inch theory, proposed by pyramidologists like Charles Piazzi Smythe. They argued that the structure encoded not only pi, but also the golden ratio, phi, and even prophetic dates. These ideas were not supported by mainstream Egyptology because they rely on selective measurements and reinterpretations. However, even skeptics acknowledge the astonishing precision of the pyramid's layout. The internal structure is just as enigmatic. The king's chamber, built entirely of granite blocks transported from Aswan nearly 900 kilometers away, sits near the center of the structure. Above it lie 5 relieving chambers, discovered by British explorer Nathaniel Davison in 1765 and later by Giovanni Battista Caviglia and Colonel Howard Vyse in the 1830s. Vyse found workers, red-painted marks in one chamber mentioning Khufu's work crews, tying the structure definitively to the 4th dynasty. The granite blocks in the king's chamber weigh an estimated 25 to 80 tons each. The precision of their joints has been measured to less than half a millimeter. There are no inscriptions describing the purpose of the chamber or explaining why it was designed with such exact dimensions. The descending passage aligns almost perfectly with the pole star of the era, likely Thuban in the constellation Draco. Astronomer I.E.S. Edwards and engineer Robert Bauval have both noted the astronomical orientations. though Bauval's later interpretations veered into speculation. What remains factual is that the alignment exists and would have required intentional observation. In recent decades, new methods have revealed more. In 2017, a team using muon radiography, led by Mehdi Tayyubi and Kunihiro Morishima as part of the ScanPyramids project, detected a large void above the Grand Gallery, possibly 30 meters long. Its purpose and contents remain unknown. No ancient record references it, and no direct access has been made. Theories about a coded message are divided into two camps: coincidence and intentional design. Egyptologists such as Mark Lehner argue that geometry served practical and religious functions rather than mathematical encoding. The ratio resembling pi, they suggest, could be the result of using whole number measurements based on cubits and seeked slopes. Yet others, like Jean-Philippe Loher and architect Gilles Dormion, believe the precision was too consistent to dismiss. Even if the builders did not conceptualize pi as a number, the structure's shape, four triangular faces meeting at a single point, creates relationships that reflect circular geometry. In other words, even without mathematical notation, they may have worked with ratios and proportions that naturally produce what modern observers call pi. Then there is the alignment to true north. Studies by Canadian engineer Glen Dash and Egyptologist Kate Spence propose that the builders used circumpolar stars to determine orientation. Spence's 2000 paper in Nature argued they tracked the simultaneous transit of Kochab and Mizar around 2467 BCE. Whether intentional or practical, the result is a near-perfect directional alignment. But perhaps the most enduring mystery is not how they built it. It is why the design adheres to principles still debated by modern scientists. No funerary inscriptions, no written explanation, no diagrams. Khufu's sarcophagus, found in the king's chamber by Weiss, is uninscribed and appears unfinished. The rest of the burial goods typically expected in royal tombs are missing, possibly looted in antiquity. Yet the structure itself is precise enough to reflect relationships between the Earth's circumference, polar radius, and geographical latitude. Facts often cited by fringe theorists, but also measurable by modern instruments. Historians caution that while many of these alignments and ratios are real, they do not necessarily prove intent. Still, the absence of any textual explanation leaves the door open for interpretation. The mathematics is there. The engineering is there. The silence of the builders is there, too. Whether the proportions of the Great Pyramid were deliberate codes or the byproduct of master builders working with practical geometry, one fact remains. A civilization with no surviving architectural plans created a monument whose dimensions still match constants, discovered thousands of years later.